This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 132, and this week I am very pleased to be joined by two returning guests, both Voice of Wrestling contributors. First of all, Gerard, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, John. Apologies for missing my last appearance on the year-end awards. I was sick with a cold, but I also saved myself the indignity of saying that I voted Dynamite as best weekly TV show, but I had submitted my ballot before the Dark Order angle happened.
I think a lot of people did, actually. Yeah, I mean, it ran away with it, but it's also not a ton of competition, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still your second appearance of the year because you're back on the Wrestle Kingdom 14 post show we did, so that's cool. And Paul, this is also your second appearance, our second guest here, Paul. You were also on the Wrestle Kingdom 14 shows.
Yeah, I think Gerard actually filled in for me when I woke up too late and missed like half of the second night of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I think it was Tyler. I think originally like Tyler was scheduled for night one and you were scheduled for night two. Tyler was scheduled for night one or something. I don't know, but I think Tyler like jumped in and did night two as well or something. I don't know. It's whatever. I mean, you're still on night one at least, so
yeah,
you missed it entirely.
Otherwise, I'm here in the middle of a storm right now, so I've just spent all days like looking at reopens in Japan.
Yes, Paul and I are once again both going to Japan around the same time in October. Although you're going for like a full month, which I'm very jealous of. But yeah, I'm only going for about 11 days. But we were thinking of going to like a ryokan. I've always wanted to go to like a hot real onsen, so figured that'd be a fun way to spend a night.
Yeah, definitely.
The ones you were looking at were like you sent me looked absolutely gorgeous. So
yeah, no, definitely. I want one with like the proper like outdoor like stone like onsen and everything.
Yeah. But other than that, what have you been up to? Just you said you're in the middle of a storm.
Yeah, pretty much. That's actually kind of died down now, but it's been like the second storm that we've had in like as many weeks as well. So I hope that like the weather dies down a little bit at least now.
So of course we're going to talk about All Japan. That's why both of you are here. That's the main topic. I think last week I said we were going to talk about Noah. Unfortunately, I assumed it was going to be on DDT Universe, which it was not. It was just on, what's it called, Abema, and I don't think all three of us had a VPN or anything. So I haven't seen the show. I don't know if either one of you have, but unfortunately, that's gonna have to wait until it gets uploaded somewhere.
It sounded great though, from all accounts.
Yeah, it sounds like people are saying
Suzuki.
Yeah, people are saying Nakajima and Hideki Suzuki is like a match of the year contender. So I'm excited to watch that, but we have not seen it yet.
And there was some All Japan related news on the show too.
Right, we could definitely bring that. So actually, let's just talk about that now. So they announced a 6-man tag for their big March show. I just retweeted it before. So it is on March 3rd in Yokohama. Katsuhiko Nakajima, Shuhei Taniguchi, and Junta Miyawaki from Noah against Suwama, Shuji Ishikawa, and Yusuke Okada from All Japan. So that sounds awesome. Very exciting. I mean, Noah has 2 big shows in March. I think they have the Yokohama show, and they have like another one on like the 24th, I think. Like, right? That sounds right.
Yeah, I think so.
So, or maybe it's February 24th and March 3rd. I don't know. They have two big shows coming up, and that's one of them. So I'm pretty excited about that. All Japan. So All Japan, Noah, and Wrestle One will all be on the same show. Just like all Japan and its offshoots coming together, basically.
Yeah.
So we could see what the promotion would actually look like if the splits never happened.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting. But yeah, so that's a big Noah news. Hopefully they get that up on DT Universe or somebody uploads it things. I really want to see that. But just want to get that out of the way that we did not see the show, so unfortunately we can't talk about that. But after this segment we're recording now, I've already recorded a segment on, first of all, mainly on Stardom's February 8th Korakuen. It was a solo segment since I guess neither one of you are regular Stardom watchers. Not that I watch every single Stardom show either, but I generally catch every single Korakuen and then like random spot shows and matches that people recommend to me. So I recorded about 45 minutes total by myself yesterday, which is on the Stardom February 8th Korakuen. I also previewed the upcoming 4 New Japan Korakuens and the DDT Korakuen because that'll be the subject of next week's show. So after you finish listening to me, Paul, and Gerard on All Japan, just keep on listening, and you can hear my solo segment on mostly on Stardom, but also with a brief preview of those upcoming shows. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in Japanese wrestling right now. Just a lot of promotions that seem like they're firing on all cylinders.
It's
and
kind
All
of
Japan.
Wild.
Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it's kind of wild, and there's going to be a hell of a competition for Booker of the Year this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Stardom, as I will talk about on that segment, like they really feel like they've hit like a new stride under the new Bushiroad ownership. New Japan, I think, is just having an outstanding start of their year. That feels as fresh as that's felt in eons, really. Noah, it has the new DDT owners, and they feel like they're really doing interesting stuff right now. And as we're going to talk about here, All Japan, I mean. Even though I didn't love the main event of this show, which we'll talk about, I still thought this was a really solid Korakuen, as far as like fun stuff up and down the card. And they have a new direction with reportedly Shuji Ishikawa as the new booker. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that, Gerard? The booking change of All Japan?
Yeah, it's been like I don't know, like it just moved so fast. It was actually quite impressive because the way that the company was booked. Well, I'm assuming that Jun Akiyama had a big hand in that, although it was said that Sushi Aoki did as well when he was still alive, is that, things move kind of slowly and you weren't going to get like a bunch of angles on one show. And then all of a sudden on January, well, there was some like teasing of it beforehand between the Real World Tag League and the first shows of January. But on like January 3rd, 2nd and 3rd, it was like boom, 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 angle, new factions formed. And throughout the tour, like, people would join either Purple Haze, like Zeus joined Purple Haze on the January tour. And then on back-to-back shows, you had Fuminori Abe and Ayato Yoshida join Jin. So just the number of angles and having smaller shows mean something. Like it's just totally transformed the promotion. And I hope I'm not sounding too like hyperbolic, but it's just been a really fast change to everything.
So what the rumor is, right, that basically after Aoki's untimely passing, Jun Akiyama last year basically, agreed to stay on as booker for the rest of the year, which I don't know if that was widely reported. I feel like I didn't hear that, at least, if that was what happened. But it didn't feel like a lot changed in All Japan, even after he, quote unquote, stepped down last year. But obviously, I think the timeline adds up, because if you look at the shows since 2020 started, I mean, it feels like you're saying, like a whiplash, like just a totally different vision. We have new units, we have outside interference in All Japan for the first time ever, which you could say is not a good thing, but it's definitely different.
Well, it's not the first time. Some of them
not first time ever. Like,
in a long time, just like voodoo murders were around or something like that.
Right. I shouldn't have said first time ever.
Also, kind of explains why, like, the whole like back end of like 2020 felt like there was just nothing going on. Because if this was just like Akiyama like holding on to the position until the end of the year, that explains why it didn't really start like anything new and why it like felt so stale as well, because it was literally in a holding pattern.
Yeah. Did RO&D used to do interference too? I think.
Oh, that's right.
So
yeah.
I guess that whole period was like a lot of the Muto period had a bunch of interference, which is I don't really remember. Has Wrestle One had a lot of that? I feel like they haven't.
No, I don't recall.
I think they had it like right at the start, but then it kind of got less as Muto got less involved. I think.
Maybe that's why. Maybe Muto's the one who loves the interference stuff. But yeah, so All Japan bringing back outside interference, I guess is the better way to put it. But yeah, the crowd seemed to really dislike it.
No, they did not like it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good heat or not. I guess we'll wait and see. But it's mostly
if it's the second or third match, it's fine. But that was the semi-main event, like World Tag Team titles, right? That's a completely different thing.
So I mean, it's really just the Purple Haze unit doing it, I guess, right? That's pretty much, which is a new like Zeus-led unit. So it's like I like Purple Haze other than the interference because it's like one of these old school like scummy indie heel units, which I've always been a big fan of. So it's like Zeus and his fucking scumbag indie pals. It's very very fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's just I don't want outside interference in the World Tag match.
Yeah. No, if it's like the I don't know, like third from the bottom, like random 6-man tag, like that's fine. But yeah, not an entitled match.
Yeah, and they also had I think 1 or 2 DQ finishes on like spot shows in January too, involving Purple Haze.
Yeah. But is there another new unit? Am I going crazy?
Jin.
Oh yeah, the Jin, and that's like in my head that's barely new because that almost feels like a continuation of Sweeper, but
it's almost even a continuation of Next Stream because Jake Lee and Nomura were like world tag champions briefly when they were in Next Stream, but then I think Lee blew out his knee and was out for like 9 months.
Yeah. So you have
and then he left when he came back.
So you have like obviously the main guys, but also like Ayada Yoshida's in that, Fuminori Abe. I mean, it's a very interesting unit. That unit is very cool.
What it is.
Yeah. And it sort of like goes to show the changes in the company because first it's clearly that Shuji Ishikawa is using his connections because he's all of a sudden there's now seems to be a closer relationship with Noah, which was sort of always on and off, but now it seems closer. And then the DDT connection with Takagi now as Noah president, and the regular use of Abe, who sort of came through the Basara and everything like that. So it's quite clear.
I think he is still considered a Basara roster member. So.
Yeah. Oh, and Irie is from DDT as well. So it's that all adds up. Again, your circumstantial evidence of Ishikawa booking.
I mean, it's good for the scene because I feel like with New Japan becoming such a fucking like 500-pound gorilla, I mean, we got news this week that they're going back to primetime on BS Asahi, which I don't think people even realize how big of a story that is because people hear like, oh, it's a satellite network, so people must not get it. Like I've heard anywhere from like 50% of the country to like Dave Meltzer and the Observer said 70%, which I assume he got from what's his name? The Pacific
Fumi Saito.
Fumi Saito, thank you. Like a lot of televisions. It's not 1999 anymore when like nobody could get satellite. Like they are building satellite receivers like inside Japanese televisions now, and BS Asahi is not a network that you have to subscribe to. Like basically, if your television or your setup can get satellite networks, you get that channel for free. It's a free network. And it's got way more penetration than your Samurai TVs or your even like the Asahi Channel 2, which is where the network that airs all the New Japan shows live. That's a subscription network. So that one, probably like I'm guessing like 10% of the country or something probably gets.
Yeah, but for years and years, I was basically read like, oh yeah, like Samurai TV or Gaora. It's like only 10% of the country had these like setups.
Yeah, but like BS Asahi, that's it's a different broadcast standard that these are on. Those are like CS channels. These are BS channels, hence the name. And those are apparently easier to get. Most of them are free. I think there are some pay ones on there, but like this BS Asahi is definitely free. I mean, just being in Japan, like I was interested in like what networks, what TV stations we got, and like I'm pretty sure everywhere I went, like hotel and Airbnb got those networks. So like, and meanwhile, I never found Samurai TV.
Yeah.
I found Gaora and Asahi Channel 2 a couple times, but not that often. So, BSSC, that's a network a lot of people get. So New Japan will be on primetime, 8 p.m. on Friday, the old, time slot. And it's obviously not as good as having your big recap show on, broadcast, but this is the next best thing. And people absolutely will like just come across it like channel surfing now, which they were not. I mean, for people who don't know, on BSSIE before April, before they're going back to primetime, they were on late night. Like, I think it was like, I don't think it was quite 2:30 a.m. like they are on broadcast, but I think it was like, midnight or something, or 11:30. So they were on very late night, even on the satellite channel. So obviously they've done all this growth without being on, primetime anywhere. So they're already this 500-pound gorilla in the scene, which is my original point. And now they're going to get even more exposure with, primetime television on a network lots of people get. So, if anything, they should only grow further from here. So I would, I don't know. I mean, I think the rest of the scene, like the more that they can work together and the more they can band together, to hopefully get some growth going with those promotions, I think the better. Like, I think they really got to put the Eagles aside, and you really got to give people, the interpromotional stuff, but like really give people the All Japan, Noah, DDT, Wrestle One, like all these companies should be working together to, really try to get some excitement going, because they got to do something to counter, just how powerful New Japan has become.
Right. And I don't know if the Japanese TV scene is like it is in North America, where, people will copy each other. So I have no clue even if they pop a good rating for New Japan on BS Asahi, if that means that other TV channels will want to put primetime wrestling or not.
I mean, it's hard to say, because like one of the big incentives is that Asahi owns New Japan, like they own part of New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, you would say, well, maybe Nippon TV, which owns, like, I don't know if they still own part of Noah or they just own the back catalog, but like, maybe Nippon TV will counter and put them on the air, on a major time slot on their satellite network or something. But I don't know if that's still the case. Like, I don't know if they really have the same incentive structure to do that. So maybe if it's a big hit or something.
I think you also can't forget that a lot of the bigger promotions in Japan are actually owned by like a TV station.
Yeah.
So like Dragon Gate being like heavily involved, like Gaora being heavily involved in Dragon Gate. So like they're gonna be always tied to that channel. And then obviously DDT with Cyber Agent and the Beamer. So they probably want to keep them on their services and don't want to put them on like regular TV as well, I would assume, at least. So I've really like the only one, like All Japan, I guess maybe could get a better TV deal out of this, maybe. And well, Big Japan probably not. So right forever.
Well, the thing is, though, Gaora does have some sort of involvement. I don't know what the level is with AJPW TV. So that might be an issue.
I mean, I forgot about Dragon Gate too when talking about promotions working together. I mean, a Dragon Gate guy is the All Japan Junior Champion. So,
I mean, if you want to hear my completely like unfounded theory that I have in my head right now, is like with all the like consolidation that's like going on right now and promotions getting bought left and right, the Dragon Gate guys getting more involved with All Japan, to me, like, would it be completely out of left field if Gaora ended up like either investing heavily or like even like outright buying All Japan as well?
I mean, it wouldn't shock me. And they're different enough promotions from Dragon Gate that you could, justify owning both the same way that Cyber Agent owns All Japan, or Noah and DDT. So, but yeah, I mean, it's very interesting what's going on in Japanese wrestling right now with the corporate consolidation, New Japan moving to a stronger network or a stronger time slot. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and like, you wonder how much of it is again in preparation for what apparently is still WWE's imminent invasion. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing and what they're even thinking right now with all the other issues that company's having. But apparently, every time I ask about it, people are like, no, that's still happening. They're still preparing. I'm like, okay, I don't know. You
Jiro still working indie shows?
That's a good question.
Because I haven't seen him pop up anywhere big recently, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he might be done. I think, didn't he have his goodbye show like a few weeks ago or something?
Oh, that's
No,
right.
isn't? Oh wait, no wait, that's only airing, right?
Yeah, I think it happened
the
already, but
versus Dan Seven match, like he was like on that show as well.
yeah. So it looks like his last match was December 31st at the Wonder Carnival. So there you go. I don't know if he's I don't know if that means he's done, or that's according to Cage Match, that's his last match.
Enjoying the sun in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you also have like Quiet Storm just left Noah as well, and I mean he would be like a good bridge person for NXT Japan, I suppose, because well, obviously he's American, but he has a Japanese wife. So
And he knows knows both languages and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, that's the kind of guy, you think they want to hire. But I don't know. I mean, it's look, I don't. They're definitely going to like raid some companies, and they're going to sign some people, and that's you do have to be worried about that if you're a Japanese wrestling fan. But like that whole operation has looked so inept so far that like it doesn't carry. Like I feel like a couple of years ago there was a lot more fear there, especially watching what a year or two ago, watching what they did to the fucking UK. I think there was there was a lot more fear there. But now you have all these companies, all these promotions are owned by these giant companies now. It just feels like the scene is a lot healthier than it was, even a couple of years ago. There's just a lot more, there's a lot more like big money involved, and there's a lot more like, promotions that look like they're in no danger of going out of business or anything. So I don't know. I'm not as worried as I was about that a year or two ago. But
no, Noah, they pretty much said that like if Cyber Asian had like stepped in and bought, then they would have probably just died or would have had to like sell to WWE as well. So
yeah, so it feels like everything's a little more stable now. I guess we'll see, what WWE chooses to do. But I don't know. I don't really know if a Big Japan Sendai Girls NXT Japan is really that frightening.
No, not really. And I mean, how many wrestlers are really going to be swayed by like the promise? I mean, I can get it for like American or UK wrestlers where it's like, you can work WrestleMania. I don't know if that many Japanese wrestlers are going to be swayed by the promise of like, you can work like a half full Korakuen Hall and Shinkiba. Like, you don't really need to leave your current promotion for that.
Well, I think it depends how big those contracts are, because for some of those indie workers, like, I mean, how much is Daisuke Sekimoto really making in Big Japan,
Right.
And what could even WWE offer him?
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's like I think the people that will go there, they'll probably be the people that really like dreamed of WrestleMania to begin with and all that stuff. Maybe the same kind of people that are already going. And then I would be more worried about like the people who aren't with a major promotion than I would be worried about like, like I don't see Kento Miyahara is probably not going there.
No.
Someone I fully expect to sign with NXT Japan as soon as it starts, and this is probably going to piss off a lot of Joshi people, is like Lulu Pencil. I think she's probably like a lot to jump to NXT Japan.
You heard it here first, folks, I guess. All right, so let's get into this All Japan Pro Wrestling show. This was the February 11th Korakuen. Was the Excite Power series, right? Excite
series.
Excite series. Okay. And this was a very good house here, 1687.
That's their biggest since the Champion Carnival last year. Yeah.
So I mean, people were very into Aoyagi as a challenger. That's pretty clear. And any other excitement of the general new moves going on. I wondered how much if Nakanishi didn't help a little bit. I could see a couple hundred extra people showing up to see one of Nakanishi's last matches. That was a smart little booking to bring him in for an All Japan Pro Wrestling final special.
Well, Akiyama and Nakanishi, I guess, were roommates in college, I think, but they were definitely went to the same university and on the wrestling team at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's where that sort of connection comes from.
Did they ever have a singles match? I feel like they didn't.
I don't remember one.
Let me see. Akiyama. Cage Match can always answer this. They did in the 2003 G1, and they did also at Wrestle Kingdom 3. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Akiyama won them both. I vaguely remember that Wrestle Kingdom match. That was 2009, so not that long ago. But it was only about 10.5-minute match. But
that 2003 G1 is one of my favorite G1s.
Yeah, it's a really good G1. Let's see all of Nakanishi's All Japan matches because I'm curious. He teamed up with Omori to challenge Akiyama and Nagata a couple years ago. That was like during that All Asia Tag Title reign. So let's see.
It's like a really. Oh wait, I think I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. I was at the what's it called show, the Saitama show, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, wasn't that the one? No, wait, wasn't that the one where Kento won the title?
I believe so. I think that's correct. But yeah, he's only wrestled 6 matches in All Japan, so this was the 6th. So he had all the way back in 2001 during the New Japan All Japan feud, which is like one of the most underrated feuds ever. He only appeared in All Japan once during that period when he and Yutaka Yoshi challenged Johnny Smith and Taiyo Kea for the World Tag Team titles, and they did not succeed, unfortunately, at a Budokan show. And then he appeared in 08 a couple times. 2011, him and Nagata lost to Masakatsu Funaki and Suwama. And then the 2018 match and then this match. So there you go. A little weird, maybe, that he got a All Japan final when he's not exactly even been a regular guest star, but I guess being roommates for Uncle June do that for you. But I'm sure that could have added like an extra couple hundred fans, I think, or at least 100 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy, people don't underestimate how many fans that guy has. I mean, he's pretty popular. Okay, so I want to start at the top here because the main event, I would call this the somewhat controversial main event. Kento Miyahara defending the Triple Crown title against Yuma Aoyagi. He successfully defended it in 24:09 with the shutdown suplex hold. That was his 10th defense. So I've, first of all, like, as I watched this show live, this show aired 11:30 a.m. Japan time on February 17th, February 11th, back on Tuesday, which was it was a Japanese holiday as well. So I was able to watch this Monday at 9:30, which, first of all, imagine watching Monday Night Raw when you could have watched this show. It's it was funny because my Twitter timeline was like half people, like the weirdos that still watch Raw, and then like half people tweeting about the All Japan show. It was a kind of funny little mixture there. But yeah, this match, as it aired, I think the Twitter timeline and the reactions from people who watched live was very mixed. Like, I think some people really didn't like it, and I would even include myself in that category. And some people, I think, were like, well, it was good, but not up to the standard of a lot of Miyahara defenses. And, as the week went on and more people watched it who didn't watch it live, I think there was almost a backlash to the first group where they were like, I guess they heard, that this match really wasn't that great or wasn't as good as other matches. And they were like really going crazy about it. Like, I don't know, like, I think I listened to I don't remember if it was Alan for Al or it might have been Alan for Al who said like the people who didn't like this matches were lunatics or something, or he definitely used something about crazy. So Alan was not happy, I guess, with the critiques of the match. And then the Voice Wrestling flagship, I know Rich and Joe were both very high on this match and, questioning the people who didn't like it. So I'm definitely going to give a bit of a defense of, I guess, the people who didn't like it and why I didn't care for this match. But I don't think it was like the worst match I ever saw or anything, but like there were some big issues I had with it, and that's what I'm gonna get into here. I guess before I go, more blow by blow, I guess Gerard, I think both of you watched this show live, right?
Yes.
Or was it just Gerard?
I did.
Paul, did you watch it live too?
No, it was like 2:30 in the morning here. I actually watched like in bits and bobs like over the week and actually finished it off this morning.
So I don't know what you thought of the main event actually, so that'll be interesting. But Gerard, I think I know what you thought, which was, I think you're in the category that thought it was good but not up to his usual standard. Unless I'm putting words in your mouth.
Nope, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm in that sort of middle group. I went 3 3/4 on it, which is also what Meltzer gave it. And sort of some of the critiques, I guess I was listening to the flagship. I don't know, people were calling Kento Miyahara lazy. I didn't think Miyahara was lazy. But I thought this Aoyagi he did some great like heel work. I just thought he wasn't up to snuff in this match. Like I was really high on him going into this match because he would have been my MVP in the Real World Tag League. He was incredible that entire tournament, but it was like in a sort of a sprint setting. Like that was the kind of style of a lot of the matches he looked great in. So I think maybe going this went 24 minutes. I thought he looked a little exposed. I don't think this is some sort of like career ruining thing or anything like that. He's only going to get better, and the crowd seemed to love it. It just didn't hit super high with me.
Paul, what did you, I guess, I have no idea what you thought of the match, Paul. Were you in the group afterwards that loved it and thinks the critiques are crazy, or what did you come down on the match?
No, I think we're all kind of in line here. I thought it was fine, but like it wasn't blow away, and it was kind of like the second time in a row that like Kento, like the Kento title defense was like outrun by another match on the card. But yeah, I think kind of probably my problem with this match wasn't really Kento himself. I mean, like with Gerard, it was more Yuma, where I do like Yuma, and I know he has a lot of potential. But I do think that, like, generally he hasn't really shown all that much in like singles matches, and he definitely needs to get better, like at like being on top in a match. Like, I think he's really good when he's like selling, but I do think he like tends to kind of like run out of ideas when he's on offense pretty quickly.
So I am going to differ a little bit from the two of you then, because I think I'm even lower than the two of you on this match, and I don't think Yuma was the big problem. I think Yuma looked really good for a lot of this match. There was one thing he did towards the very end that really pissed me off, and that I'm going to talk about when I get there. But for the most part, I thought he was really good in this match. Where people, they talked a lot about the critique of Kento as lazy on the flagship, and like didn't really, I don't know if they really even like engaged with it. They just kind of said that critique is, dumb or whatever. So I think I'm going to give my best defense of that critique, and I'm going to tell you why I think it was more accurate here than it maybe has been in the past. I don't think when people call Kento Miyahara lazy, I don't think they're saying he is literally like not doing anything. I think it's more like I saw the critique a lot from people who don't normally like him that, he gave Yuma nothing. He didn't, I think it's more like he didn't like go outside of his comfort zone, do different kind of stuff, like really try to work with this guy. I think people think he's got a formula and he kind of sticks to it. And to a degree, I think that's kind of true. I don't think that automatically means he's like bad or anything. I think he's actually, I think he's really, really good most of the time. And in the past, I haven't really seen the lazy Kento critique. But here, I thought like, some of what he did in this match, like the setup where he misses the chop and hits the post, I feel like he's done that like maybe 3 or 4 times during this title reign. I just feels like I've seen that a million times. It was, very dull at the start, and that I think was part of the problem, that the chop the post thing was not a great setup. And then he got into like the arm selling, and the arm selling is what really, I think, drags this match down from just, to where otherwise I may have had it like at that 3 3/4 level, but like he sold this arm in a really obnoxious and annoying way, like in the almost like that Will Ospreay like scream selling way, which which Ospreay doesn't even do anymore. That was like 2018 Will Ospreay. Like that's who it felt like he was channeling, and like it was way too over the top, especially for my personal taste. Like I really hate that like over the top scream selling. And then the problem is, like I've seen other people say that he sold the arm throughout. He did, but he also forgot about it a lot. Like there was a really crazy German suplex sequence, but like that was, Kento just completely forgot about the arm during that entire sequence. He was throwing a lot of like these perfect fast strikes with a bad arm. Like he really, it felt like if you're going to go so over the top with that arm selling, which again, I don't even like to begin with as an aesthetic choice in a wrestling match, you cannot have it become a phantom arm, a phantom injury for the rest of the match. Like it can't, like you have to like be consistently selling it throughout the entire match. And, I think people get lost in this where it's like, oh, I don't want to hear about nitpicking on the selling. Choosing to sell a limb like that is already a fucking choice in a wrestling match. If he wasn't going to commit to it for the entire match, he just shouldn't have fucking done that in the first place. Like, just don't do the crazy screaming over the top selling if you're not going to commit to that for the rest of the match. So I don't know if that makes him, quote unquote lazy. I do think it's like they had this idea to do this arm thing, and then it just felt like it got completely abandoned, especially, down the stretch and stuff. So like, I saw some people say, well, he struggled to get the shutdown German, so that proves that he was set on the arm. It's like, yeah, but he struggles to get the shutdown German in every match. So it's not like it's some big special struggle. It's like maybe he sold it a little bit more, but like if you watch any Kento Miyahara title match, he's always going to struggle to get the shutdown German. The other guy always tries to break free and like doesn't let him get the grasp or whatever. Like that's not anything special on its own. So I couldn't believe I saw that as a defense of his arm selling. But yeah, I don't know. Like that's my general feeling. I don't know if the lazy Kento critique is necessarily correct. I think it might be. I get why people think it's a little over the top, and people are like, "Well, you just don't like aces or whatever." But I definitely think at Defense 10 here, I get why there's like a Kento fatigue that's setting in with people. And even though he is an outstanding wrestler, I thought this was this was like the nadir of this reign, basically, and like where Kento, it didn't feel like Kento was doing anything new or different. He had a different opponent and a chance to do something, maybe outside of his comfort zone. It felt like a very standard match, of his. So that'd be my big critique. Yuma, I liked him a lot. At the very end, I don't think he should. I know some people loved it. I didn't like that he did that goofy kung fu pose after the kick flurry or whatever, because it's like, and then does that cocky pin after. It's like, I get he's doing a heel character, but like there's a difference between a heel character and an idiot. I mean, he looked like a fucking idiot doing this cocky bullshit when you have a chance to beat this unbeatable champion who's trying to get his record-tying 10th defense. I mean, I don't know if that's the time to be doing like your cocky pose or whatever. It just kind of felt like he was, it didn't feel like the right kind of character moment for the moment he was in. So that would be my big critique of Yuma. But the rest of the match, I thought he was pretty great. But that would be my big complaint.
Now, to be fair for Yuma, I have to say that like all of the stuff he did and like the lead up to this match was awesome. Like all of his little heel stuff, and even like during his entrance when he gave like this like really shitty, like the shit-eating grin, like the thumbs up to the people, like swiveling the towels, and when he attacked Kento in the like pre-match like press conference, that was absolutely awesome. But yeah, then like in the match, as you said, like he had like his weird, stupid moments in there and didn't necessarily always fit. So I think he has to essentially like channel the like humor in the build up, then like in the big match itself as well.
Yeah, and I gave it 2 3/4, by the way. That's the rating I came in at. So very low. Obviously, I think the lowest Kento title match I've ever come in at, but I didn't like the match. I didn't think it was very good, especially for this, obviously for a Triple Crown title match. So what are you going to do?
Even though I didn't go as low as you, it's still also my lowest rated Kento Triple Crown match of this reign.
Yeah.
So.
Any other final thoughts on this match before you move on?
I've watched it twice, and I will admit that, in my opinion, I thought the selling of the arm was a little better. I thought on the second watch, but not enough to make me like radically reevaluate my rating of it or anything like that.
Okay. Anything to add, Paul?
No, I think I've got everything.
Okay. The semi-main was the All Japan World Tag Team titles. Suwama and Shuji Ishikawa defending against Shigehiro Irie and Lucas Steele, of course, from the new Purple Haze unit. The thing that really struck me watching this was, like, first of all, how tiny Irie looked in there with Shuji. Like, he's a wide man, but he is a very short man. And especially when it's in there, you're so used to seeing him in DDT that maybe you just don't even notice. But like, yeah, when he's in there with Ishikawa, he looks fucking tiny. And then this is where we had a lot of the interference and stuff. They pulled out the ref, there was powder, a chair shot, and the fans were like big mad about the interference. But after the interference was over, I thought it turned into like a good little hoss fight, and Suwama like tossing Lucas Steele, almost called him Lance Steele, was tossing him around and then pinning him with 3 straight backdrops. I was really into that, but it also felt like it ended right when I was getting like super into it, so I couldn't go higher than like 3 1/4. But I enjoyed it. Other than the interference didn't like drive me completely crazy, because it's almost like a, I don't know, like like the novelty of seeing it in a major All Japan match was kind of interesting, and just the novelty of seeing the fan reaction was kind of interesting. But it's nothing I want to see on a regular basis. So I hope they do get away from that eventually after a while. What did you think of this one, Gerard?
I liked it quite a bit, except for the interference. I went 3.5. I thought the end was fun with Suwama and Steele. I thought the Ishikawa and Irie stuff at the beginning was also really good. It's just sort of the middle with the interference that dragged it down. I know that there's a lot of mixed thoughts from people on Irie, but I think he will fit in All Japan with the bigger guys. And I thought that was proof of this.
Yeah, I don't know. People seem down on him. I like him, except for the only time I didn't like him his entire career was that DDT heel run, where it just didn't work. But like other than that, I usually enjoy him a lot. He's not a guy that I don't enjoy. I mean, he's not like a best in the world or anything, but like I don't know. He's on a card, especially on an undercard. I feel like he always brings something to the table. So I like having. I like the fit for All Japan. So I think it's he's in 2 units now too because he's also in Strong Hearts. So very interesting.
Right.
Paul, what do you think of the World Tag Team Championship match?
Yeah, I think the match was pretty good, but as you said, like it ended kind of as it got really going. So I was actually kind of hoping there was I would have enjoyed it a lot more if there actually was like a bit more of like a good hot like closing stretch, and we didn't really get that. Where, well, like they just ended the match essentially, but it felt very decisive. I did really like Lucas Steele, where, I mean, it's clear that he's still like fairly green, but he's got like good size in him. And once he kind of like properly starts working to that size as well, I think he's going to fit in really well with the promotion. And I think being around people like Irie and kind of like Zeus, I think is going to really help him develop as well.
Match number 5, the All Japan World Junior Heavyweight title. Suzumu Yokosuka defeating Francesco Akira, and let me get the match time. Wow, this was really short compared to what I would have thought. 11:32 with the Yokosuka cutter. This I thought was the clear match of the night. This was friggin' awesome. Akira's a guy they have high hopes for, and he has shown a lot here. And Susumu is such a great professional wrestler, and he has this obvious size advantage, and he used it really, very early on, and just like kind of shrugged off a lot of Akira's strikes and got the crowd, who already loves this guy anyway. Like they love this Italian boy, but they got him, they got the crowd even more behind him. He emphasized his quickness and like his ability to avoid moves. It turned into like a really hot closing stretch, and all these girls like screaming for Akira, and by the end, Susumu just kind of takes the wind out of the sails. He gets these huge jumbo no kachis after Akira had done a great job avoiding them throughout, and then finally puts them away with another one in the Yokosuka cutter. I went 4.25 on this. I thought this was like a really like awesome junior sprint. I thought Susumu was a great base, and Akira was like a dynamo in there. So that was awesome. And afterwards, Susumu, he basically said he wanted to defend the title in Dragon Gate, but Yusuke Okada ran out because he didn't like that idea. So I guess we're going to get Susumu and Okada next, which definitely signed me up for that.
It's on the 22nd or 23rd in Osaka this month.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
So, yeah.
What'd you think of this one, Gerard?
I went 4 stars. I'm going to take 2 victory laps on this match. I said in my preview at Voices of Wrestling that this thing could hit 4 stars, and it did. And I was on the Francesco Akira train from day one, when a lot of people were like, who's this like skinny 12-year-old in All Japan? But to me, and then I was grading on a curve because this is All Japan Junior Division. The guy can do flips. The guy can work the crowd. That is like literally all you need to like show some improvement in that division compared to what it once was. This was awesome. A career-making performance for Akira in a lot of ways. And also on today's show, in the main event 6-man tag, Akira pinned Hikaru Sato, which would be probably the biggest win of his career up to this point. So it's quite clear that they're all in on him now.
Yeah, that's pretty great. I mean, look, he's already super over. So, I don't see why you wouldn't go with him. What do you think, Paul?
I'm also going to take a quick victory lap as well, because in the preview for the New Year Wars, I actually predicted that Susumu was going to win the belt and that he would have a tremendous title reign, because he would be the perfect guy to put in the ring for like all of these young guys that exist in the All Japan Junior division now, and that's exactly how seems to be like working out right now. Yeah, I thought this match was really good, and I think Akira has like tremendous potential. I think the only thing that he's missing so far is that he needs to fill out that body a little bit, but I think he's also like ridiculously young still. I think he's like 19 or 20 years old. So obviously, like as he like matures and like works out a bit more, like he's going to fill out that frame. And I think in general, like having Susumu in there is great. Like if you just look at the All Japan Junior division, All Japan finally has a good junior division. We're only like 2 years removed from Ultimo and Tajiri like laying on the mat, pretending to do grappling and having like a junior division with an average age of like 45. And now it's like they have all of these young people there. They have Abe, they have Iwamoto, they have Okada, and they have the good Italian boy. And then they have like the young boys like Dan Tamura that are like coming up as well. So I think like All Japan's junior division is actually really, really good now. It might be one of the best junior divisions in Japan now.
Okay, so the fourth match, the Manabu Nakanishi All Japan Pro Wrestling final 8-man tag, Jun Akiyama, Manabu Nakanishi, Osamu Nishimura, and Yutaka Yoshii, defeating Yoshitatsu, Ryoji Sai, Tajiri, and Dan Tamura. In 10:29, Nakanishi submitted Tamura with the Argentine backbreaker. I was trying to say before my audio cut off there, you mentioned Dan Tamura that that he's like one of the younger guys. I thought he looked pretty damn good in this match.
Yeah,
I mean, he looked like a promising young wrestler. I'm looking at the All Japan website with auto translate on, and I'm just amused that Manabu is study Nakanishi, which makes sense if you know that word, but it's just funny. So this was a really fun little match. I mean, they mostly beat up on Tamura. He did a great job selling. He made the tag, and then all three of his parents like beat down Nakanishi to big boos. But then he cleaned house on all of them with double sledges. This crowd loved Nakanishi, which is like one of those reasons why I said before, like he may have been like a little bit of a minor draw. And then Tamura like basically did his best, Nakanishi impression, but then got grabbed by the throat by the real thing. He put him up in the Argentine. He swung his legs around to kick the mist out of Jiri's face, which I thought was
the best part of the match.
Yeah, that was great, and then got the win. I went 3 1/4 on this. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great time and a great little nostalgia fest for Nakanishi, who next week will be retiring. So I'm gonna miss the guy. I really one of my a guy I've always really liked. So I'm very, very sad we're losing him, even though obviously he can barely move.
Yeah, this will probably be the last win of his career too, because he probably will do the job in his retirement match.
Yeah. What'd you think, Gerard?
I loved it. 3 stars. Just fun little match, everything it was, and I like Tajiri eating shit.
What'd you think, Paul?
Yeah, I also thought it was a pretty fun little match, and as you said, Tamura has like a ton of potential, and also shows that they like put him in matches like this as well, where it is a bit higher up the card essentially, and they like trust him to go in there with the veterans and like not like embarrass himself. And yeah. I think he was also, when they went to Hard Hit as well, I think they actually brought him there as well to like stand at ringside. So they like definitely like think that he has like potential to like get into a big position. So like they're giving him like chances to like learn. So I think he has a bright future.
Match number 3, the All Asia Tag Team title. Jake Lee and Koji Iwamoto defeating Takeo Omori and Black Menso Ray. Iwamoto pinning Menso Ray in 9:56. Look, this was if this entire match was like the last minute, it would have been like 4 stars. Like they fucking committed a murder in that on Black Menso Ray. He just kept kicking out. It was such a great like closing stretch. I can't go higher than like 3.5 on the match, but like, man, did I enjoy myself for a 10-minute tag.
Yeah,
what do you think, Gerard?
I went 3 3/4. It was a great sprint. Omori and Menso Ray are sort of underrated as a team because they're mostly sort of doing the comedy shtick. But whenever they do challenge for the All Asia tag titles, which they've done a couple times, it's always a really good match.
Yeah. I mean, Omori like weirdly can still go for like such an older guy. Like
the way he moves looks weird, but he can go still. Yeah,
I feel like he busts out these performances like a few times a year, and he always looks good. Paul, what did you think of this All Asia Tag Team Championship match?
Yeah, I thought this was awesome. It's not my match of the night because I still think that Akira and Susumu was stronger. But like this might sound like heresy, but it might be like my second favorite match of the night because I just absolutely love that closing stretch, and I think the rest of the match was pretty good as well. But that closing stretch just had me hooked for the entire time, and I think Iwamoto and like Black Mansory just kind of tore down the house, and I'm just happy to see that. I think Iwamoto is kind of getting his form from 2018 back a little bit. Because I think in 2019 he took a bit of a step back where he got a bit too comfortable with his formula with the judo throw and everything, and he didn't like nothing really happened until he hit the judo throw in his matches. Yeah. But I think now he's like right back to like where he was before, and I think having Abe around really helps Iwamoto. I think just him being like in the same promotion, because I think both of them kind of came up together as well, so I think they complement each other really well. So Abe being like a regular in All Japan now seems to have lit a fire under Iwamoto as well, and I hope that he continues to develop this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you're saying, I think he looks, really good, and hopefully he does get to another higher level this year. Where did they announce the champion card participants? Was it like after this match?
I think so. Yeah.
So we'll just go over them at the end, I guess, because we got two more matches. Only got two more matches left anyway. Match 2 was the Purple Haze team of Zeus, Izanagi, and Utamoro defeating Tatsuya Hanami, who was a 2AW young boy replacing Naoya Nomura, who of course got suffered that terrible nerve injury. Ayato Yoshida and Fuminori Abe. So the Purple Haze team won this match in only 5:19 when Zeus pinned Hanami with the jackhammer. They ran out and attacked them immediately, which I thought was cool. It's not something you often see in All Japan. Purple Haze just very heelish throughout, really doing a lot of corner choking and stuff like that. Yoshida got to make the big comeback, and he looked really good. He looked really good, actually. Like, I think he was probably the highlight of this match. And, he's a guy that, people are obviously upset that he is, stuck in 2AW after all the promise he showed us New Japan Young Lion. But, I honestly think he could do more. Like, if he is in All Japan long term, which it looks like he is, I mean, I think he's more valuable here than he would have been in New Japan. But I don't think he ever would have been like a top guy in New Japan as a someone who didn't come through their system. Whereas here, I think he could develop into like a top. Especially with it looks like 2AW is like really close to All Japan. I think someone's on their board, like their owner's on the All Japan board, or
yes, that's what someone, shout out to the VOW Discord AJPW channel. It was posted in there. Basically, if you just run the Wikipedia All Japan page in the translator, it was set like the name came up and everything. Like the president 2AW sits on All Japan's board of directors.
Yeah, so those two companies are very close together. So I think Yoshida could eventually become like a top level guy in All Japan if he keeps developing. So yeah,
that's a lot different than just like being in some other like outsider.
Did you 2AW also? I don't know if you saw in the Voice Wrestling Slack, we were trying to come up with like the lowest drawing Korakuen of the year for 2019, and we thought for a while it was the 2AW show from the autumn. I think it drew like I'm trying to scroll up to it. I think it drew like 496 or something, and then we found one show that drew worse than the 2AW show. As I was going back through the year, I found it was a Pro Wrestling Wave show, and they're a Joshi company that had a lot of problems and like shut down for a while, and like just really hasn't been what it used to be. And so they go, okay, maybe 2AW didn't win this competition. But then we found one more show that was even lower than that Wave show. It was the Kaientai Jojo show from the spring before they changed their name. So yes, 2AW does not have the lowest show, but only on a technicality because their former name of Kayatai Dojo had the lowest drawing Korakuen. It was like in the 400s. So, yeah.
I mean, 2EW gets outdrawn in their own building by All Japan.
Yeah. I mean, it's not good. I mean, they're not very tiny company. So yes, I get why people don't want him stuck there because he definitely is way too talented to be doing wrestling at Korakuen Hall twice a year in front of 400 people. But if he's going to be a regular at All Japan, which, I mean, he's in Jin, and it looks like he, if they're willing to push him as a top guy eventually as he gets more experience, I think that's a very, that's a big spot. And I hope he, I'm glad to say he's a guy that All Japan, I think, very much could use as like a top star. So.
And he's getting protected. He hasn't taken a pinfall in All Japan yet. And on the Jin Produce show at Shinkiba on the 6th, it was Violent Giants versus Yoshida and Lee, and Jake Lee was the guy to take the fall in that match. So I think that tells you something.
Yeah. And then he went to a draw with Nomura as well early on.
Right.
Maybe he should beat Kento.
Might have to. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said they might have to, depending on what happens with Nomura.
Right. Match number 1. Do you guys have anything else to say about this one? I guess real quick. I don't think we talked about the actual match. I gave it.
Sorry. I do have one thing. Just wanted to say that this match to me is a much better example of the kind of like undercard heel stuff that I don't mind at all, and compared to the outside interference in the the World Tag Title match.
Yeah. Match number 1. The opener was Yusuke Okada, Hikaru Sato, and JR Kratos. Defeating Hokuto Omori, Sugataka Sato, and Rising Hayato in 8:37. It looks like Hayato took the pin. I don't even know don't remember who got the fall. Was it Kratos? Or was it?
I think it was Okada.
It was Okada. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the sudden death, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this was good. I mean, this was all right. I rated it 1 3/4. So no, it wasn't good. The problem was that Kratos looked like offensively bad a lot of the match, and like I don't know. I mean, like I know he's like a SoCal indie legend, I think, but he looked fucking awful here. He was a very large man, and he tried to do like this weird like handstand thing on the corner and just messed it up, and he just was like fucking looked awkward throughout. Just never looked like he was comfortable in there. Maybe it's something where he just was really nervous about wrestling in Korakuen Hall, but he looked really awful. So he dragged this match down a lot, and I thought it was just kind of there otherwise, and really Kratos was like offensively bad. So I would go 1 3/4. But it's cool to see. Whenever I see these Wrestle One trained freelancers, which is Sato in this one. I mean, it's just funny to me because like they're the only promotion school that will train you and let you go wherever you want. And I always think of this one guy, I can never remember his name, but like who trained with Wrestle One, but his lifelong dream was to join the 0-1 roster. And it's like, maybe aim a little higher. Like, your lifelong dream in 2018 is to join the 0-1 roster. Like, there's got to be an easier way to join the Yakuza, buddy.
Maybe I don't know.
But it's very. I always think of that guy whenever I see these Wrestle One trained freelancers. But I don't think that's Sato. I think it's somebody else. But there you go. But yeah, just pretty. Kratos sucked. Everybody else looked fine. What do you think of this one, Paul?
I thought it was pretty fun. I think maybe the only other time before this match where I have seen Kratos was when I think he had a match with Andy Williams, or is he the Butcher or the Blade? I think it's the Butcher. And they had like a really fun match on Bloodsport. And I think in this case, he did look fairly immobile. I do think he had like some decent instincts. I don't know if he's like really like a viable like long-term member, and there were definitely like some spots where like there was a bit of awkwardness between him and his teammates as well. But yeah, I don't know about it. But look, it's not like he's like the worst person the worst gaijin that All Japan has brought over recently. So who knows? Maybe he can improve a bit with time as well if he gets more comfortable.
Yeah. And then let's see. What do you think, Gerard, of this one?
Yeah, I thought it was fun once Kratos got out of the way at the beginning and all the young guys looked great. To be fair to Kratos, he looked better on today's show, but like I just don't see the point of investing him in as anything long term for this company, especially with some of the other foreigners you've got coming in who are also a lot younger. Kratos is in his late 30s too. So, you know.
So there you go. I thought this was a fun show. I mean, if this was like, if I liked the main event, if the main event was like a, one of these Miyahara Triple Crown matches, I went like 4.5 or 4 3/4 on, then this would have been like an outstanding show. But even with a very disappointing main event, I still enjoyed myself. It was a fun Korakuen.
Yeah, and I think the show did everything that it set out to do, which was like get over like some younger wrestlers too. So that should be seen as a big success.
So let's talk about the Champion Carnival entries before we wrap this segment up. We got the entrance, and of course they're going to start on Monday, April 6th at Korakuen Hall. The tournament runs until May 5th, also at Korakuen. I believe that the last 3 nights are all at Korakuen, actually. So the entrants are Kento Miyahara, Davey Boy Smith Jr. Making his All Japan debut. I want to say, has he ever wrestled in All Japan before?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So that got a big reaction from the crowd, as I guess a lot of the ex-New Japan guys are always going to get. Jake Lee, Suwama, Yuma Aoyagi, Shuji Ishikawa, Zeus, Naoya Nomura, Yoshitatsu, Kai making his return. He was not in last year's tournament, even though he's been a freelancer there for a while. Ryuji Sai, Joel Redmond returning from last year. I thought he was great last year, so that's pretty cool. Gianni Valletta, Lucas Steele, and the newcomer from the UK. And then we have a lot of new faces. Shigeru Irie, obviously, he's been a regular. Hideyoshi Kamitani coming in from Big Japan. I think he's a big upgrade on Daichi Hashimoto from Big Japan last year. Ayato Yoshida, who's been a regular, so that's not surprising. And then probably to me, like the biggest surprise is we get Takashi Sugiura from Noah. So maybe we could call Davey Boy the biggest surprise. But either way, they're both big surprises. And but I'm really excited to see Sugiura, mix it up there with some of these names. I mean, obviously we have to wait and see what the blocks are. But man, if we get Kento and Sugiura, that's going to be fucking, really something. So last I did mention Nomura's name. He was announced. I guess really nobody knows if he will be the guy who. If he will be able to come in. I mean, he's supposed to be the guy that wins, I think, is what most people are thinking.
Yeah.
And, he has this injury and no one really knows if he's for sure going to be able to make it. So we'll wait and see if he gets replaced. Will Jun Akiyama have to replace him again? I guess we'll see. I also have the full schedule here. I guess I can go through it really quickly. But yeah, everything's in the air on alljapan.tv. I don't know. They said, I don't think it's all going to be live, right? I think some of it'll be VOD.
Some of it probably, but every show, like last year, every show made it up, either live or VOD.
I mean, you can watch every single Champion Carnival match, so they'll all be on there, whether it's live or on tape. So, I did that last year. I definitely or 2 years ago. I definitely recommend doing that, or at least watching, all the hype matches. So there'll be a lot of really good stuff. I guess before I do the schedule, any thoughts on the lineup, Gerard?
Looks pretty damn good to me. I don't really see any problems. I mean, the Valletta is the Valletta thing, right? I mean, someone's got
it has its charm, even if he's not good, but at least I would rather have a charming bad wrestler than just a bad wrestler, Yeah.
So. Well, it's the same thing. It's a night off, because they're just going to brawl around, play with the chain, and then go to the finish in 7-8 minutes. So
yeah. It's like Yano. He's like the Yano of the Champion Carnival.
Yeah, and he's joined Purple Haze now as well, so I think it's like a perfect fit for that too.
Yeah. So I got no problem with Gianni Valletta. I ain't gonna hate on him.
He should pin Kento again.
Yeah, he absolutely should pin Kento again, and then he should get his title shot, and then he should take the title from him. Hashtag justice for Johnny.
I'll just also say, it's funny because I know not everyone loves Davey Boy Smith Jr. I actually do like him. Funnily enough, I've been catching up on MLW, and he's actually been pretty good in the last couple of months because he's also getting a push and is pretty high up on the card. So I'm not saying he's going to be a slam dunk, but I would say more likely than not, the chances of him being pretty good in All Japan it's more likely than not he'll be good in All Japan, I should say.
I really want, what match I really want to see if I just checked this while you were talking to see if it's happened before, and it has not, other than they were in a 6-man tag on the All Together show in 2011 at the Budokan, but I hope they're in the same block. I want to see Takashi Sugiura and Suwama. I don't know why in my head that just sounds like something that would be, I guess they've both been around forever and they're both kind of like grumpy old guys now. I would like to see that match. So
yeah, I think maybe it could, like, for that block it could come down to like those two as well.
Yeah. Well, we don't have the blocks yet, do we?
No, I know, but like if they're in the same block,
Right.
like I wouldn't be surprised if that's like one of the final matches.
Yeah.
And I think even if Nomura is healthy, I think there's a good chance that Sugiura might end up just winning this anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a hell of an outsider title defense. So, like the Marufuji one.
Well,
yeah, I'm very certain he will at least make the final as well. And whoever he's like up against in the final, it's going to be tremendous.
And there's also like the issue is like, could you sort of string things along longer? Like have Sugiura beat Kento and then have Nomura beat Sugiura?
Hmm.
I mean,
that would almost be my play if Nomura can't make the tournament, and to just have Sugiura beat Kento and then just have Nomura take the title whenever he recovers from his injury.
Yeah. All right, so let me go through the schedule here before we wrap it up. It starts April 6th, a Monday at Korakuen Hall. Then we get April 11th at Okayama, so it really goes right out in the countryside. Wow. April 12th in Fukuoka, the 13th in Kumamoto, and the 14th in Kagoshima. So you get 4 straight nights there. Then the 16th in Hiroshima, the 17th in the Taisho Osaka, which is subtitled the Spring Zeus Festival, which I thought was funny. The 18th in the more traditional Ideon Arena Osaka, the second hall, of course. The 19th in Aichi in Nagoya, the International Conference Hall. I think that's the same place where I saw Big Japan Death Vegas, which is it's a fun little venue. The 21st in Fukushima, the 22nd in Miyagi, or Death Mania, not Death Vegas, whatever, it doesn't matter. 22nd Miyagi, 23rd again in Sendai City. And then they come with those 2 nights in Hokkaido that were awesome last year in the 25th and 26th in Sapporo. The 29th in Chiba, and then we get the 3 straight nights at Korakuen. The 30th, then there's a little break, and then May 4th, and then finally the finals on May 5th. So that is your All Japan schedule for the Champion Carnival. Definitely something I'm looking forward to a lot. A great lineup here. So we'll definitely follow that along here probably in April on this podcast. But there you go. Okay, let me get into some All Japan questions before we wrap up this segment. We did get a few, and I already did the Stardom questions. You can hear those on the Stardom segment that's coming up. From Thoros, he says, if Nomura can't come back in time and June refuses again, who should they throw in the Champion Carnival? Who do you think, Gerard?
Iwamoto, maybe? Just because I think all of the heavyweights are taken and used up in the company, and he would be the junior, I guess, who could sort of fit in because he's not like super small.
What do you think, Paul? Any do you agree with that one or somebody else?
I mean, if it has to be an All Japan roster member, that probably would be my play as well. If Akiyama really doesn't want to step in, if it comes to like bringing in an outsider, I wouldn't mind like seeing someone like make a return to All Japan as well, because I think every promotion in Japan needs more Yuji Hino, really.
I forgot. Also, I would say Udamaru.
Oh yeah.
Because he's just hanging around, doing a lot of dates for them, and he's in Purple Haze. As long as they don't have outside interference, for the love of God.
Niagara Driver on Twitter says, we kind of covered this, but what do you see in the future for Yoshida and 2AW in general in All Japan? And we said they do have like a big connection there. I honestly think they might be able to push Yoshida all the way to the top. So,
yeah, I agree.
I think that would be really smart to push Yoshida to the top. It's something that I actually noticed on the show as well. And I mean, it's kind of something that we know he has a lot of potential, but like looking at him like on the show, I just realized that like that guy is like a proper star And like even if he's not like an All Japan guy, and even if he's not signed, given that 2AW is never going to be a threat to them, like I think they should definitely push him.
Okay, so over in the Voice of Wrestling Discord, there were Drollman had a million questions here. First of all, thoughts on Lucas Steele?
I like him a lot. On today's show, he looked the best he has in All Japan. I know he's only been on, I guess that's his 4th or 5th show for them. So I think he's growing into the role, and he's going to be, in the ring with like people like Suwama and Ishikawa and that to learn from. So I think they found like a young guy on some small English indie that no one had seen, and they snapped him up, and I think it'll work out well for them.
And I should say a lot of his questions we did cover already, so I'm only getting to the ones we didn't. Do you have any thoughts on Lucas Steele to add, Paul?
I'm just happy that Lucas Steele like is with All Japan now and isn't gonna be like another failed project of NXT UK. So I'm happy he's in Japan now.
Then he said thoughts on your dark horses for the Champion Carnival. So I guess he means like who could win that. I don't know if there's a great dark horse. Maybe if they really want to go insane, maybe Yoshida. I would totally do it. If it was me, I would just have Yoshida win the damn thing and then win the title from Kento. Like really like just go crazy with that push and try to like establish him as like equal to Kento already. But I don't know. I don't think they will do it, but I think, it's I'll answer that as my dark horse.
Jake Lee could be a dark horse because he made the finals last year. So there's that sort of story, but I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess dark horse, as weird as that sound, would be Kento himself, I guess. Okay. Since they could always just go, well, let's just give it to, like, in case Nomura gets injured and they don't come up with a good idea, they could just go, well, let's just give it to Kento and then just take it from there.
And then he said, your favorite matches, memories of Joe Doring. And he said, show me your power versus Zeus doesn't count. Buddy, you're not going to tell me what to do. That's my favorite memory of Joe Doring. Oh. That was so awesome.
Well, I will say this. January 2015 versus Go Shiozaki. That was an awesome match.
Yeah, that's one of the incredible match. Yeah, love that match.
Him just hitting an absolutely murderous like revolution bomb when he turned on Savama was pretty great too.
And the like just returning from cancer in general was just a great moment.
That's obviously the best part, yeah.
And then Jamie O.D. from Dramatic DDT, he said, the thing I want to know with Doring is do many foreigners get a big goodbye when they're done with Japan? Pac and DG and Kenny and DDT are all I could think of from this gen. There were some other Dragon Gate ones people brought up, but yeah, in general, I don't think it really happens very often. So
I guess we should. We never really addressed this, but I guess we should say all the rumors are saying that Doring is done with All Japan.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because he's taking indie bookings in the US, which he doesn't often do. So,
Small Doink over in the Super J-Cast Discord says, basically his question was, does Kento have the worst defining title run as an ace? I'm going to say no.
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Doink does not like him. Like at all, and I think he had I think Kento had a lot of really good defenses until this one. I will say it has gotten long in the tooth, but like a lot of that is not their fault because like they just don't have anybody else on this roster. So like I don't know. It's not,
I don't know. I feel like remember when I don't know, Paul. I think we talked about this, but like people were like, "Oh, Sakamoto's going to pin Miyahara in the Real World Tag League, and we're going to get Sakamoto versus Miyahara in January and everything like that." I do think they probably could have tried to get a couple more outsiders to face him. But that's my only like quibble. Otherwise, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Like I get the whole stop the Kento meme and all of that, but like let's just keep it as what it is, which is like a decent joke to make at times because as you said, it has gotten long in the tooth. But like let's not forget like all of the like just tremendous list of matches that like he's had in that title reign as well. Like if you just like the show we did with Thomas as well, where we did the Indie Japan and the Japan Indie year in review episode where we spent like I think pretty much an hour just talking about Kento matches. Like it's been an amazing title reign. but it should end soon. Yes.
All right. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up this segment. Of course, as I mentioned, you can keep on listening because I have a Stardom solo review. The second time I've done a solo review on this podcast. It already recorded, so definitely keep listening after Paul and Gerard say their goodbyes here. I also realized after I recorded it, so at the end of that solo segment, I list like a lot of other Voice of Wrestling podcasts and stuff, and I think I got every single one, except I think I forgot Open the Voice Gate, which is funny because I started that show. So the only one I forgot was the show that I fucking started. So tune in for that. That's coming up at the end of the show, I guess. But Gerard, give me some plugs and stuff.
Yeah, so just keep your eyes out. There'll be wall-to-wall Champion Carnival coverage at Voices of Wrestling. I will have a preview that I'm sure maybe Paul will want to contribute to. And last year, Paul Thomas and I, between the three of us, we reviewed every Champion Carnival show, or at least the tournament matches. So aiming to do that again this year.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure you guys can come back on to talk Champion Carnival if you want. So.
Yeah, I think there'll be probably a lot of news coming out of it and stuff too.
And I'm sure there will be a couple of matches as well that might be worth talking about too.
Yeah. So Paul, give me your plugs. I know you love to plug your Twitter.
Oh yeah, obviously. Don't follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to All Japan TV instead, and DDT Universe as well to watch some DDT and Noah. And yeah. Otherwise, as Gerard said, watch out for our wall-to-wall coverage of everything Champion Carnival coming up.
voicesofwrestling.com. All right, folks. So there'll be a little musical interlude here probably, and then I'll be back in a second with my solo review of the Stardom Korakuen and my previews of the upcoming New Japan and DDT Korakuen. So stay on the line for that, or I don't know why it's on the line. Keep listening. See you in a sec.
Emergency. It is an emergency. Please press to light. Emergency. Please press to light. Emergency. Please press to
down to the queens.
Okay, folks, through the magic of audio, after that little break, we're back here on Wrestling Omakase. You just finished listening to an interview with Paul and Gerard on All Japan Pro Wrestling that I honestly have not recorded yet. So to give you a peek behind the curtain, I'm recording this little solo segment on Saturday night. Whereas, you know, the segment on All Japan with Paul and Gerard, I'm recording on Sunday. So through the magic of audio, you've already heard that segment, but I have not yet recorded it. So hopefully it went great. I don't see why it wouldn't. They're both great guests. But I guess you probably heard me rant a little bit about why I wasn't a huge fan of the Kento Miyahara match and all that. So I guess I don't need to go into that again. But yeah, that's basically what I'm going to talk about. What you're going to hear is me being not a big fan of Kento's latest title match. A crazy person, I think, is what people said. Some people said. But what I am a big fan of is this Stardom show, the February 8th Korakuen Hall show, The Road to Major League. This show was outstanding. I didn't see the dark match of the opener. I watched 4 matches, but the 4 matches I saw were all, ranged from good to freaking outstanding. I really enjoyed this show, and I'm really, Stardom I thought had a great year last year, but this year so far, has just been really great. I don't know if they've overtaken DDT for me, but it's really close. They're just having an outstanding start of the year. 2 straight Korakuens that were really, really good. And, I really like how everything is unfolding right now, and you have a lot of different storylines going on. You have a lot of different, elements, like this unexpected Marvelous invasion that kind of came out of nowhere. Of course, the main event was supposed to be Mayu Iwatani against Sareee, which I'm sure would have been awesome, but the main event we got with Mayu and Takumi Iroha ended up being fucking awesome. So, I mean, who can complain? And, there's just a lot going on in these shows, and, all of it's really interesting and really fun. And they just have that roster now is so stacked. I mean, there are a lot of wrestlers on this Stardom roster now who, are not really getting pushed that hard. We're going to talk about one in the Artist of Stardom title match that would be, the best wrestler on a lot of rosters. Okay, I mean, no spoiler here. Azumi. Azumi, 17 years old. If you drop that woman into AEW, she would be the best women's wrestler on that roster by, a fucking mile. She would be better than, 90% of the men. So, and she's not even a main event pushed act in Stardom. So that's that's just the riches they have right now as far as just a completely stacked roster, full of women that or even, I guess at her point, not even an 18-year-old woman, but a 17-year-old girl who's better than most of the wrestlers on this earth. And, if they, as long as she doesn't retire after graduation, which would be really awful because she's so good. I mean, they have a legit star in their hands in her for the next decade or however long she sticks around. But let's go match by match here because all 4 matches I saw here were pretty good. It started, or at least pretty good. I mean, 3 of them were really, really good. It started out with the Artist of Stardom number 1 contendership match. Hana Kimura, Jungle Kiona, and Konami from Tokyo Cyber Squad taking on Natsuko Tora, Saki Kashima, and Natsu Sumali from from Oedo Tai. First of all, I love the new, I don't know how new it is actually because I don't watch every single house show, but the, I guess, relatively new heel remix of the Oedo Tai song. It sounds much more evil now, and it got me thinking that Oedo Tai, must be much more heelish now, and in some ways they are, but man, they were they didn't really play heel in this match, especially early on, where, they basically, Konami and Jungle, really took turns beating the absolute crap out of Saki. And I was, wondering going in, I haven't seen a lot of heel Saki yet. And I was well, what is she like as a heel? And I don't know if this match really gave me a good answer, because it was a lot of, her doing what she, had normally done as a babyface in Stars, which is, just getting beat up and selling her ass off, which she's very good at. So I'm not, she was good at it here, but it's very weird when she's dressed in all black and she's giving these very heelish promos, but she's still very much playing babyface in peril here. So that was interesting. Then they kept, TCS kept playing heel in the match a lot because they also cut Natsu off from doing the Bronco Buster at one point, and they got lustily booed by the Korakuen crowd for not letting Natsu rub her crotch in somebody's face. But Natsu did get to do it afterwards, so don't worry. The perverts rejoiced because, of course, Natsu sells those t-shirts that say pervert scum on them. She really loves her crotch-based attacks in general because she also, in addition to using her own crotch, she punishes the crotches of all the other women. And this is going places I'm not sure I wanted it to go. But, a lot of Manhattan drops, those reversed, I think that's what those reverse atomic drops are called, right? I don't have anyone to ask because this is a solo podcast. But a lot of those, and then she also did the leg drop to the crotch at one point, and yeah, really crotch-based offense. And then Jungle and Natsuko Tora, they have their big thick gal showdown, and they both were running into each other. They both managed to knock each other down with the shoulder block, so that Tora finally put her down with a spear. All 3 members of Oedo Tai isolated Konami, and Tora nearly pinned her with a splash off the top before teammates saved. And then Tokyo Cyber Squad kind of came back and isolated Saki, but when Konami tried to get her in the Triangle Lancer, it led to this really cool pinfall reversal sequence where they, first Saki reversed it into a cradle, Konami reversed that back into another cradle, and then Saki reversed that into another cradle for the pinfall. So that was a great finish. I added a quarter star just for that. It was fun. It wasn't the greatest match of all time or anything, but I went 3 1/4. I had a good time with it. It was just a little weird. I expected a little more, I guess, heel work from Oedo Tai, but they were, what they did was still fun. So that was match number 1, and by far the weakest of the 4. So if the weakest of the 4 matches is a fun 3 1/4 star match, you got a pretty good show here. The next match was for the Artist of Stardom titles. Momo Watanabe, Utami Hayashishita, and Azumi, the Queen's Quest team taking on Julia, Sayuri, and Maika. So this match, this was really good. And, first I have to mention the pre-match promo. So Mo Watanabe calls them Donna del Voldemort. And Azumi adds that they're the unit who must not be named, which is pretty funny. I'm not even really into Harry Potter, but I thought that was funny. And then they basically say that they're angry because they're old ladies. So Queen's Quest continues their history of being like the most vicious on the mic, especially. Momo loves to bury people, and I guess it's rubbed off on Azumi too. But yeah, it was really funny. So everyone paired off early, and we got like a bunch of brawling, and Siri and I think I mispronounced that. I'm very sorry, but Siri and Momo eventually end up in the ring together. They start trading these really stiff-looking kicks, and then Momo starts destroying her with a series of even stiffer drop kicks. So that was really cool. Then we end up with the Maika and and the Utami thing, where they're like tossing each other around these judo throws, and Maika, of course, is a judoka, just like Utami, and they've had these meetings before and just tap out and stuff, and it's just really fun though, even watching her toss Utami around, because that's of course what Utami does all the time in Stardom, is toss all these other girls around with these judo moves. So watching Maika do that was really cool. Utami eventually fires back. She gets her up in the Argentine backbreaker, but Maika reverses it into like a cross arm breaker, like slowly brings her down into it. That was really cool. And then transitions it into a triangle, but Utami like power bombs her way out of it. So that was like another highlight sequence of the match. And then after that, it became the Azumi show. And man, Azumi is so fucking good. Again, at 17 years old, she is already better than, 80% of the wrestlers on this earth, 90%. Like she is so good at this. She's bumping her ass off for these girls. Just, bumping like a complete maniac for all this offense. Basically in there like a pinball. And she does this like crazy Rana into a Fujiwara armbar. She gets this like insane armbar takedown into a cradle thing on Julia for a great near fall. Like she makes them all look really, really good. She makes their offense look like $1 million. And then she just like takes over and gets in her offense and looks great. And the crowd's going nuts for her. Azumi is so good. Like, I cannot stress that. If you take one thing away from this solo segment, where I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing half the names, Azumi is really, really good, and everyone should watch her wrestle, because she's already so good, and she's not even of, I don't know, is 18 legal voting age in Japan? I don't even know what legal voting. She can't drink for another 3 years, I know that, because their drinking age is 20. But yeah, I mean, she is so good already. And she, if she keeps improving at the rate she's improved in the last couple of years, I mean, she's going to be the best wrestler, maybe the best wrestler in the world by the time she turns 20. For sure, she can be the best women's wrestler, and she'll be in the top 10 if she keeps improving at this rate. So she's so good. Julia finally put it away though at the Glorious Buster to win the Artist of Stardom titles for their team. I like this a lot. I gave this 3 3/4. Really good match. And then Julia cut a good heel promo at the end. Basically says she thanks the QQ Kitties for a good match. And then she's like, oh, who are the number 1 contenders? Is it Tokyo Cyber Squad? Oh, no, they lost. So she's really good as this very smarmy, very insincere heel. She's really found her calling as a promo. I don't watch a lot of Ice Ribbon, so I don't know if this was anywhere close to her character. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like the few times I did watch Ice Ribbon and saw her, she wasn't doing anything like this, but it really works for her, so there you go. But yeah, she basically says she wanted to fight Hana Kimura again, but it's not going to happen since the number 1 contenders are Oedo Tai. Match number 5, the semi-main event, the Wonder of Stardom title, Arisa Hoshiki versus Bea Priestley. Bea's new catchphrase appears to be, you can bow down to the only queen, since she turned on Queen's Quest last time. Arisa just points out in her pre-match promo this would be her 10th defense if she wins. So, we'll see if she, obviously she puts it away. I wanted to note that Rossi apparently was like, and I swear to God, I didn't even see his tweet before I said this, but he let me know in the Voice Wrestling Slack he had tweeted like a week earlier. But so I got to give the full credit to Aaron Bentley from Everything Elite for making the exact same joke on Twitter. It'll look like I'm ripping off his joke, but whatever. He basically, Rossi was like, he just takes that Bushiroad money and immediately decides to buy like a fucking blazer with the New York Yankees logo on it. Like that's what he's always wanted, I guess. Maybe it was just it was a little too expensive, a little bit out of his budget, but he's like, oh, I got those Bushiroad checks now. Time to get that Yankees logo blazer. So yeah, that was really funny. But the first couple minutes of this match were really not that good, and it's the only thing keeping this match from being even higher than I eventually rated it, because B like puts the big beat down on Arisa early and like starts doing the come on hit me thing, and it really wasn't that entertaining or interesting. It was just very slow, and I wasn't that into it. But like the moment, I don't think it was even that long. I think probably maybe 3 minutes or something of the match, because the moment Arisa like starts making like a bit of a comeback with the kicking, and like B starts begging off, and she's by the way playing it much more heelish now that she has joined Oedo Tai, so she's at least aware that Oedo Tai are heels. But yeah, she's like way more like, I don't remember her doing a lot of begging off when she was in Queen's Quest. But yeah, so she's like begging off, but then like comes back and starts like tossing around with all these suplexes, and Arisa gets like really stiff with kicks in response. This is like really outstanding. At one point, Arisa goes for a springboard, one of these springboard kicks she does, and B just jumps on the middle rope and Germans her off the middle rope in midair. That like had such a low margin of error on the, like they had to make that perfect basically, and they like nailed it. Like that looked really, really good. And they're like trading these knee strikes and just screaming at each other, which is classic Joshi. And Arisa finally gets the shining impact, the running knee for the win. Like I said, it had a slow like for a few minutes, but everything after that was really good. I went 4.25. I'm not usually a big B Priestley person. I really don't think she's very good, but Arisa is like she's on one of those runs where she can have a 4-star match with virtually anybody. So she's really this wonder Stardom title run. I mean, one of the things that has made Stardom so good in the last like year or so is just like getting her out of nowhere basically, because she had retired years earlier, and just to come back and perform at this level as Wonder Stardom champion is really something. So obviously that's been a big thing for Stardom. But yeah, she puts B away here. We don't get any note here about a new next challenger, so maybe they're going to give the belt a little bit of a break after, she's already at 10 defenses after, hasn't been champion even for a year. The main event, so this is a non-title match, Mayu Iwatani against Takumi Iroha. This was originally supposed to be, of course, Mayu defending the red belt, the World of Stardom title, against Sari. And that match may never happen because Sari is supposedly going to report to WWE by the end of the month, I believe. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed. I'm pretty sure it is, but who knows. So we get Takumi Iroha instead in what became a non-title match. And, Takumi, if you're not aware who that is, she's from the Marvelous promotion. They had, teased, basically after Bushiroad bought Stardom, Chigusa Nagayo, of course, a very famous women's wrestler who runs the Marvelous promotion, basically said she wasn't going to let, Bushiroad push her around or dominate women's wrestling. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like, that she was declaring, I think she definitely said she was declaring war on Bushiroad. And I'm pretty sure at the time, people took this as a shoot. I think people definitely didn't think this was like a work, if I remember correctly. I definitely don't remember anyone saying like, oh, this is definitely a work. But it looks like in hindsight, it either was a work all along or quickly became a work because, here's Takumi Iroha, and, it looks like Marvelous and Stardom are going to work together more in the future too. I mean, they, like Mayu Iwatani after the match basically said, we are gonna, I want to involve the Marvelous Juniors, which are I believe is what they call the younger wrestlers. I don't really watch Marvelous, so I'm going on the top of my head on that one. But, I believe that's their younger wrestlers, not their like later wrestlers. But like the Marvelous Juniors and Stars, all those people basically in like getting them in the ring and keep it going and Stardom. So I assume this is going to continue as well. I really doubt they put Takumi over here clean as they did if they weren't going to continue working together. So it's kind of crazy that like Stardom getting bought by Bushiroad just made them, way more open to outsiders. Maybe that's just like a product of Bushiroad having the money to throw around. Maybe Kadani just wanted to do that, or whoever is like overseeing Stardom. Maybe they're just more into having outside women's wrestlers. But yeah, it's definitely between the all the people they brought in already and now the partnership with Marvelous, they're definitely a lot more open to outsiders than Stardom was pre-Bushiroad. But yeah, so this match, like on top of after that last one, I was like, okay, can they? I hope they can top that last match. But if the match is even like 4 flat, they would have come in below. But they just fucking killed it here. This was everything I would have wanted and more. The story they basically told was Takumi Iroha is a badass, which she clearly is. I mean, just look at that woman, and she just fucking threw Iwatani all over the ring, just dominated this match. It was like watching Sting Vader or something, where like one of the two wrestlers, the big monster is, it's basically a completely one-sided squash almost, other than like Mayu having her little hope spots. But I mean, like Iroha was basically in control of this match from the moment the bell rang to start until the moment the bell rang to end, with like very few, little mini comebacks by Iwatani. But her offense was so good, and Iwatani's like little plucky babyface mini comebacks were so good that they never lost the crowd. The crowd was into this from start to finish. But this was like as one-sided of a major match as you ever see. And like the fact that they had the balls to book this, to let Iwatani get destroyed like this, and granted that is part of her appeal anyway. I think that she's the plucky underdog, but like she's still the fucking World of Stardom champion. I mean, she's the red belt champion, and she's basically at this point the ace of the promotion. So like it still took balls to let her get destroyed like this, and they must have some kind of deal to keep bringing Iroha back. But man, it really got Iroha over, I think, in one night with the Stardom crowd, because we'll talk about the post match. They were really into Iroha in the post match. So it starts out with they have a little tentative handshake. They go to the floor, and Iroha she takes Mayu over her shoulder and just fucking charges right into the post. It looks super nasty. If you want to nitpick, you could say maybe even Iwatani got up back in the ring a little too fast than that. It looked so nasty. But she was selling that shoulder basically for the rest of the match. I mean, Iwatani's selling in this match. I just said the same thing about Azumi before, her bumping and her selling, and Iwatani was probably even better here. I mean, for sure, she had to do it a lot longer. And her, some of the bumps she took were incredible. Her selling was incredible. I mean, this match was outstanding. And, and Iroha was obviously great as the big monster, but Iwatani's selling was really probably what carried it. So, Takumi, she destroys Mayu with kicks and with a basement drop kick. She just keeps dominating. She ragdolls Iwatani up at one point, basically has her in the German suplex position, but is carrying her around, and then just fucking drops her. And Iwatani takes this ridiculously sick German suplex bump, even for her, right on the back of her neck. It looked ridiculous. And then she splatters her with a power bomb when Iwatani had tried to Rana her way out of it at first. So Mayu makes a bit of a comeback, but she's still doing a tremendous job selling the beating. She's too slow going to the top because she's doing such a great job selling this beating, and she gets superplexed off the top. There's this really amazing sequence where Iwatani ducks 3 straight kicks from Iroha and then just Germans her down in all in one motion. So that was one of the really great little mini comebacks. That was great. But then Iroha just takes back control. That was basically Iwatani's last gasp. I mean, she would try a couple little mini comebacks, but not even as successful. And so Iroha takes back control, just murders her with these repeated power bombs. Mayu tries to come back again, but Iroha finally puts her down for good with the running 3. And that's it. Absolutely fucking awesome. I went 4.5 stars on this. Just one of the best like completely one-sided matches you'll ever see. I don't know about ever see, but one of the best I've seen in a long time. I flirted with going higher. The only thing I would take it down for, I guess, is it's maybe a little too one-sided, or maybe like to really go. That's where when people talk about the star rating system failing, this is like it. If they couldn't have done a better job of what they set out to do. I just don't know if I felt 5 or 4 3/4, but they probably have an even better match in them, where Iwatani gets a little more offense. But this was, like, again, about as good as one of these types of matches could be. And I really loved it. It's definitely one I think you have to go out of your way to say. Really, like, all 4 of the matches I talked about here, maybe you can get rid of the number 1 contender match. I still think that was enjoyable enough, for, probably how short it was. But the other 3 matches, the Artist of Stardom title match, the Wonder, and then this non-title main event, they were all really great. So really awesome stuff that you should go out of your way to see if you haven't seen it yet. Afterwards, Mayu thanks Iroha for the match. She basically says she lost and she's not satisfied with that, so she tells Iroha to please challenge her for the red belt, which interestingly never happened. So I don't know if they're going to hold off on that. Maybe it's the Oda Ward Gym main event, because I know that's coming up in a few months, I believe. After that, Oedo Tai, before we get really anything else happening, Oedo Tai hit the ring. They attack Mayu, and then, of course, Saki Kashima, who used to be Iwatani's partner before, she turned on her and joined up with Oedo Tai, says she wants a singles match with her. Iwatani basically says she's not interested in her, which I thought was really funny. Like, totally blows her off. It's like, yeah, you're not really on my level. Just get the fuck out of here. And, they're not happy with that, and they keep attacking her, and then Takumi Iroha comes to her aid and, like, shoves them all off, and that gets the crowd going crazy, and the crowd is now chanting her name, which I thought, again, I don't know if the crowd even knew her before this match. I'm sure some of them did, but I'm sure some of them didn't. If you're just a Stardom fan, she hasn't been here in 6 years, so, you probably don't know who she is. They were like, they got this woman over one night, so they did a great job. Afterwards, Iroha talks about how, like I said, she was a roster member 6 years ago. And they tell her, let's do the Stardom, the Stardom catchphrase. So she even does the Believe Now, Shine Tomorrow, We Are Stardom thing to close the show. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. They did a great job, and I'm, really, really excited to, see where this goes with this Marvelous Stardom thing. And man, I cannot wait for Iroha and Iwatani to have another match for the red belt, because this was outstanding, and I think they have an even better match in them. Okay, so let me quickly I asked people for All Japan and Stardom questions, and some people sent both, so I should have done the All Japan questions during the All Japan segment already, but let's do these Stardom questions here. So Thoros asks, I don't know much about Marvelous. What would be a cool interpromotional matchup beyond Iroha, as more has been hinted? Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I actually have not watched a ton of Marvelous, really almost pretty much very little. But I do have friends who watch a lot more, smaller Joshi companies than I watch. And one of them is Luke at Oyster's Earrings, who of course was on the Joshi Year in Review last year. So I basically asked him to do this answer for me. So shout out to Luke. He does his own podcast on Joshi. He watches a lot more Joshi than I watch, so definitely a guy that you should go follow on Twitter. Again, it's at Oyster's Earrings if you want to learn more about all the different Joshi companies other than Stardom. Not that I don't ever watch them, but I don't watch them very super often. There's only so many hours in a day after all. He also does his own podcast which is at Apricot Pod. So here's what he told me. He said Azumi versus Miyu would be a legit dream match. I believe that's one of their super rookies that people always love. You definitely can see her a lot on Twitter if you follow certain accounts. But honestly, any of the Marvelous rookies would put on a great show if given the opportunity. Maria, Mikoto Shindo, and Mei Hoshizuki versus Natsuko Tora, Saki Kashima, and Sumeri Natsu would rule. So there you go. I'm basically giving you a direct. That is directly what he DM'd me. So thank you very much, Luke, for answering that question for me, because that's a far better answer than I would have been able to give, more than likely. Again, check out his podcast, Apricot Pod. Let's see. The other Stardom question I got on Twitter was from Niagara Driver. Seems like they're building to a Mayu Takumi main event Oda Award in April. Well, there you go. It is coming up in a few months, as I thought. Any other matches you'd like to see on that show? I really would like to see them go back to Arisa and Momo for the white belt. I know they don't normally do, I think, repeat challengers. And of course, Momo is who Arisa won the white belt from in the first place. But I think they have. I thought the match where Arisa won the belt was really good, but she's gotten even better since then, if anything. So I think if they had another white belt match at Oda Award Gym, they could even have an even better match and maybe one of the best of Arisa's really really good reign. But maybe they probably might. I'm thinking they're probably going to build instead to since. I mean, I guess you're asking what do I want to happen versus what I think will happen. What I think will happen is they're building to B and why am I blanking our name? B and Jamie Hayter defending the tag titles, the guys Stardom tag titles against the team of Momo and Utami, since of course B turned on Momo to join up with Red Otai. So I think that's what they're going to do. And not that I don't want to see that match or anything. I mean, that sounds pretty good, honestly, but I would rather see Arisa and Momo, and then maybe you could do, I don't know, try to send Jungle and Kiona for revenge, or Jungle and Konami for revenge against the top Gaijin, as it were. I think that I don't think that's the team name they're using, right? Because I know, why is Jamie Hayter okay with B Priestley calling herself the top Gaijin? Shouldn't you also want to be the top Gaijin, ma'am? I don't know. Yeah, I guess you'd have to ask her. But there you go. I guess that's about my biggest answer. I mean, anything. I mean, if they could get Sari back and do, Sari versus anybody, that'd be awesome too. But what are you gonna do? Let's see. From the Discord, first of all, on the Super J-Cast channel, Michael CC is military leader Natsuka Tora the biggest glow up in wrestling history. Also, thoughts on Stardom continuing Laredo Tai as a full heel faction and removing their tweener appeal. Well, again. Are they a full heel faction with no tweener appeal? Because that six woman tag I reviewed on this show, they were still working baby faces for half of it. So that was really weird to me because I read that question. I've heard that they are full heels now, and it feels like they're not really all that much more heelish. But yeah, Natsuko Tora as a military leader is a really cool look for her. I definitely heard that. It's a much better look than she ever had in fucking the Jungle Assault Nation, if that's even their name. I think it is Jan, right? Jan. Velcade Braca. I always mispronounce his name, I think. I'm sorry, buddy. Velcade Braca. What percentage do you think Queen's Quest has in surviving the draft and not disbanding and members being seated among the other factions? So I never even thought of this until you said it, until you asked me this question. So, I guess it's higher than 0 since you're asking and you think it's likely. Again, someone who watches even more Stardom than I do probably has a better feel of that. To me, it's insane to even think about, but I'm also kind of a QQ stan as far as if I was going to stan any of these units. They have a lot of my favorite wrestlers, and it's just a unit I've always really been drawn to. So, I don't know. I guess you're saying it's pretty high, and I guess I'm going to guess 50% at least, but I really hope not because I love QQ, and why would we want to break them up? They're the greatest. Ice Age coming. Is Takumi Iroha the coolest wrestler in the world? I mean, she's fucking up there. Have you ever seen that woman in a suit? I think it's at Noah's Savior on Twitter, Alex, who's been on here before, who always points out when she wears a suit that she can rock a suit better than most men. She looks so good in these fucking suits. So yeah, she is a very cool wrestler. If she's not the coolest in the world, she is high on the list. So that is a good question by Ice Age coming. Let's see. Do we have any Stardom related questions on the Voices of Wrestling server? It looks like no. So that's it for the Stardom questions. The other ones are all Japan questions, which you've apparently heard already. So folks, that'll be it for this week. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Next week, we will be back on the show again to talk. Basically, we have 4 straight nights at Korakuen Hall coming up for New Japan, the 19th through the 22nd. Those 4 shows look really good. I don't know if you've seen these cards. Might as well do a little mini preview while we got a little bit of time here at the end. Although I have no idea how long the All Japan segment went, so really I have no idea how much time we have. But yeah, those are 4 really great cards. I mean, night 1 on the 19th, you have the Tiger Hattori retirement event, and I mean, it's a little weird having a whole retirement show for a referee, even one as legendary as Tiger, but his last 2 matches, he's going to rep them both, and the main event for his retirement match is actually pretty damn good as far as these 6-man tags go. I mean, you have Okada, Ishii, and Goto against Naito, Shingo, and Sonata, and this is not only a match where there's like no obvious pin eaters. Maybe Ishii will pin Shingo to put more heat on their never title match the next night. But it's the first time Okada and Naito will be back in the same ring together since, Okada, of course, lost the double title match to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom. So that's a very interesting little match. I'm pretty excited for that one. So definitely not one I'm going to skip right there, even beyond wanting to see Tiger's, I assume, final retirement. It looks like the man feels like he's had like 50 retirements, let's be real. Night 2, the first of the 2 New Japan Road nights, of course, has 2 big title matches. Tomohiro Ishii challenging Shingo Takagi for the never openweight title, a rematch of their outstanding match in the G1 last year. So, I mean, there's no way that isn't good, basically. And then your semi-main, Roppongi 3K against the Mega Coaches of Rocky Romero and Ryusuke Taguchi. They set that up at New Beginning in Osaka. So that could also be really good. On the undercard, you have the 5 original LIJ members teaming up for the first time in ages. I believe it definitely has to be the first time they've teamed up since Hiromu came back. Because I really can't think of when I watch all these shows. I mean, unless they did it on some house show that didn't air, but the first televised, I should say, at the very least. So you have Naito, Evil, Sonata, Hiromu, and Bushi against Manabu Nakanishi, Hiroshi Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, Yuji Nagata, and Tiger Mask. That's one of Nakanishi's last matches before leading up to his retirement on the 22nd. That is like one of those low-key, matches I'm hyped for, because you basically have LIJ getting to be heels. It's always fun when they get to be heels, and they're going to heel it up on the old guys, and the fans are going to get mad at them. Tiger Mask is going to be in there with Bushi and Hiromu, and Tiger Mask can still go. Nakanishi is going to go after Naito at some point. It's going to be fun. I mean, that's going to be a really fun match. So as far as undercard 10-man tags go, so I'm excited for that one. The 21st, the New Japan Road Show, that's headlined by the IWGP Tag Team Title match, Guerrillas of Destiny versus Tanahashi and Ibushi. And I've been noting this on my Twitter feed that basically, so if you don't know how to check New Japan ticket sales, there's basically 3 ticket sites you can look at, and on top of that, there's also you have no way of knowing how the Korakuen Hall box office does. But my understanding is basically if they sell out of the 3 sites, then and they still have tickets up to the box office will basically send the tickets to the 3 sites, which apparently is what happened here, because when they announced this Tanahashi Ibushi title challenge, the tickets, I try to monitor the ticket sites to see how New Japan's doing, especially when they had those well publicized problems a couple weeks ago at the Road to New Beginning shows, with that first night did 1,100 fans. The second night, I think it was 1,200, and the third night 1,400. So very low numbers for New Japan at Korakuen. They're just running Tokyo a lot in the next 2 months. So that apparently everybody saw those 3 cards, which really nothing special. And we're like, these are the ones we can miss, I guess. But yeah, so I was very interested in monitoring how these tickets were selling. And before they announced anything, the 2 retirement shows were obviously way ahead of the New Japan Road shows. The Nakanishi retirement show already basically was sold out. The Tiger Hattori show was doing pretty well. The New Japan Road ones were not doing well at all. They barely had anything sold. After they announced the title matches, the show on the 20th with the Never title match, it picked up. But the show on the 21st with Tanahashi and Ibushi challenging GOD for the tag titles, those tickets, they sold out of the entire allotment. All 3 ticket sites sold out everything they had in a day or a day and a half after they after they announced that match. So yeah, people are very into Tanahashi and Ibushi challenging for the tag titles together. They're very into, the idea of them possibly becoming tag team champions here. They probably think it's very likely. So yeah, that was a big eye opener. That I guess not a big eye opener because they're big stars, but just watching the tickets fly off the shelves was kind of crazy. But now, after a couple of days, they had more tickets on sale, and I think what happened was basically like the box office sent them some more tickets so they could go back on sale. So there you go. But yeah, the 21st I think will sell out. If it hasn't already, I haven't checked today yet. But the 20th, I mean the 19th is almost there. The 22nd is sold out. I don't even know if that's 100% official, but like I haven't seen anything on the ticket sites in like a week, honestly. The 19th is not quite there, but it's close. The 21st, like I said, they did sell out of all their tickets, and they got a few back on sale, and they're probably sold out again after, by the time I'm recording this. And the only one of the four that might not sell out is the one on the 20th, which is interesting because if you follow enough people, you'd assume Shingo, like Western fans, you'd assume Shingo and Ishii would be a lock, but it's behind the other three shows. So there you go. But yeah, so the 21st, you've got Tanahashi Ibushi challenging the GOD for the tag titles. You've got Taguchi, Cabana, and Yano challenging Shingo, Evil, and Bushi for the Never Six-Man titles. You have another six-man tag with Okada and Naito. Okada, Ospreay, and Rocky Romero. Will Ospreay, by the way, the new, I guess, spoiler alert for Red Pro, the new British heavyweight champion. Okada, Ospreay, and Rocky Romero against Naito, Sonata, and Hiromu. I think this is probably the weakest of the four shows, honestly. Especially the main event, it could be good because Tanahashi and Ibushi are very good wrestlers, but man, GOD is on quite the run of bad matches, so I don't know. But yeah, I think this is probably the weakest of the four when you include the sentimental element of the Nakanishi retirement. And then finally on Saturday the 22nd, it wraps up with the Nakanishi retirement. They put together a pretty all-star match there with Nakanishi, Tenzan, Kojima, and Nagata against Okada, Tanahashi, Ibushi, and Goto. So that's, your main event there, and then we get the retirement ceremony. There's also a Naito Shingo Evil against Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Will Ospreay semi-main, which, interesting to see Naito mix it up there with Ishii, who he's, been big rivals with. Wow, I'm like losing my ability to talk after 38 minutes of solo podcasting. I don't know how Joe Lanza and Rich Crates do this. But yeah, Naito and Ishii, there's so much history there. I would love if they get another title match because they pretty much always knock it out of the park. They did again in the G1 last year. And then maybe even, Naito and Will Ospreay could have a singles match now. Ospreay's officially moved up to heavyweight now that he's the new British heavyweight champion. He did officially announce that on Twitter so people can stop asking, is he a heavyweight? Is he not a heavyweight? But yeah, that would be an interesting first time ever singles match. So we'll see if they tease anything. Obviously, Naito and Hiromu are going to have their big singles match on March 3rd, the anniversary show. I can't fucking wait for that. I'm looking forward to that as much as any other match, honestly. So there you go. So next week on Omakase, we're going to cover all four of those shows. My guest will be Haley, who was on the show last year. People seem to really like her as a guest, so she'll be returning. We're also going to be talking about the DDT February 23rd Korakuen Into the Fight 2020, which I have the card here. I had to pause it to pull it up, honestly, so if you little weird little break there. But the main event is Masato Tanaka defending the KOD Openweight title against Mao. We have the inaugural DDT Universal Championship match with Konosuke Takeshita against Chris Brooks. We have the Elimination 8-man tag with the new Damnation Strong Hearts business partnership. Daisuke Sasaki, Tetsuya Endo, T-Hawk, and El Lindaman against Akito, Shuma Katsumata, Yuki Ino, and Chihiro Hashimoto from Sendai Girls. That should be awesome. A three-way tag team match, Harashima and Yuki Ueno against Shima and Soma Takao, and Masahiro Takanashi and Makoto Oishi. A six-man tag with Don Shokodino and Super Sasango Machine and Yasu Urano replacing Cody Hall, who recently crashed out of DDT in shame and disgust, as he should have, honestly. Against Shinya Aoki, Hiroshi Yamato, and Kazuki Hirata. Another six-man tag, Higuchi, Yukio Sakaguchi, and Saki Akai, that brand new unit, against Toru Owashi, Naomi Yoshimura, and Mizuki Watashe. And a three-way opener with Mad Pauly, Yuki Onaya, and Keigo Nakamura. So that card looks really great as well. So that'll be next week's Wrestling Omakase. 5 big Korakuens to talk about. 4 from New Japan and 1 from DDT. So I'm very excited to have Haley back on and talk all 5 of them. But folks, that'll do it. Hopefully this solo segment went okay. This is only the second time I've done it, so be sure to let me know on either the Voices of Wrestling Discord or the Super J Cast Discord or on Twitter. if this sounded all right, or if you want me to do more of these in the future. Basically, when I have a show I really want to talk about, but my guests I booked don't watch it because not everybody watches everything. That's basically when I'm going to bust out these solo segments. So here we go. Stardom solo segment after an All Japan episode. Next week, we're talking New Japan DDT. We really cover everything on this show. So, thank you, as always, for listening, or everything Japanese, I guess. Because guess what? We're not covering fucking AEW. There's only 5 podcasts on this network if you want to hear some AEW coverage. Shout out to they always plug every other podcast, so shout out to the other podcasts on this network. Especially, I really enjoyed this week's Wednesday War Games, where they seem to give me a personal shout out every week as their way to get me to keep listening, even though I don't even watch Dynamite or NXT. So shout out to Garrett and Liam, who are 2 great hosts, and definitely check that show out if you don't normally check it out. Check out Everything Elite too, which is a cool podcast that we do not have a feud with, contrary to popular belief. But I listened to that this week as well. Nate is going to be coming on in a couple weeks, so definitely check that out. They did a good job this week as well. There's the Voice of Wrestling flagship. There's Music of the Mat. There's Shake Them Ropes. I'm trying to list off. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Oh, duh, the fucking Super J-Cast, who hosts my podcast. Yes, host my Discord server, or a channel on the Discord server. Folks, I am rambling like an idiot. I'm sorry if I forgot your podcast and you're on this network. I know there's that Lucha Underground one or something. I'm making that up. That doesn't exist anymore. But folks, thank you, as always, for listening. I greatly appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestle Omakase. Wrestling did not fit. Please watch Madoka Magica Side Story. It's really good. Magia record. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know why I'm just plugging anime, but this, if you're not watching the show, if you watch the original Madoka and you haven't seen Magia record yet, it's so good. In the last couple episodes where they did all that like amazing art where they're like counting down the number of lucky moments that the girls have left before something bad happens to them. Like you have to like really look for the numbers, especially early on, but they're constantly counting down. It's just like the art on that show is really, really fantastic. And yeah, definitely watch Magia record. All right, folks, that's a really strange way to end this podcast. But again, thank you as always for listening. Next week, New Japan DDT. And follow us on Twitter at Wrestle Omakase. Give me some money. I don't know if I deserve to be paid for this performance, but Red Circle, the Red Circle donate link is in the bio. I'm like just laughing like an idiot to myself, and that's apparently what this podcast is now. And folks, we're gonna have fucking sponsors for the first time ever. I'm gonna have to do an ad read. Can you imagine me doing an ad read? That's coming soon because we have now network-wide sponsors. So if you listen to all those podcasts I mentioned earlier, or one of the ones I'm sure I fucking forgot to mention. Oh, the 5-star match game. I definitely forgot to mention. I've been on that one, and I forgot to mention the 5-star match game. Hopefully that's the only one I'm forgetting. There was a Ring of Honor one for like 2 seconds. I don't think that's still around. 5-star match game, I definitely did forget. Definitely check that out. But folks, the end of this podcast, no one's listening to this anyway. Who fucking cares? No one listens all the way to the end of the podcast. But listen, okay? Give us some money. We'll have sponsors. I don't know why we're going to have sponsors. I'm going to have to read an ad or several ads, and you're going to hear the same ads across all those podcasts I mentioned, and I'm sure I'm going to do the worst fucking job of reading these fucking ads. So I think that starts next week. So there's a hook to tune in next week to hear me awkwardly and terribly read this ad copy. So check that out. Folks, I really got to hit stop on this episode. Thank you for listening. See you again next time.